Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here for three reasons. Number one, I get a chance to see all my friends in Rotary. And number two, I brought my friend and your dear friend, Larry Kirby. Yeah. And number three, I brought another old dear friend of mine who grew up here in Wakefield, went to the Lincoln School right across the street. And I know one other person that went to that school, and that's Jack Galvin. You probably knew General Galvin. He graduated from that school. And so I'm really excited to be here. Dick Veale and I met him in 1956 at the Atwell Junior High School. Anybody else here go to the Atwell Junior High School in Wakefield? Jay, yeah, great. So, wow. Well, that was the school in those days. And I got to talking with Dick about a year or so ago, and he was telling me this story about some of these events that have gone on in his life. And I was stunned to have him tell me this. And he told me he wrote a book about it. I said, really? He mailed it to me and I read it. And, I'm always looking out for people that might have something of interest that I could bring back to Rotary for you people. And I said to him, I said, Dick, this is extraordinary. I said, could I get you to come back to your hometown, Wakefield, and share with us what you've been through in your life? He said, yes. And this was about a year ago, and we finally put it together, and here we are. So I'm not going to say any more, but all I want to do is tell you, Dick, he flew 3,000 miles to be here from California. And I want you to give him a round, warm applause to come on up, Dick. All right, Dick. Good.
Hi, all. Thank you very much for having me. Yes, I came 3,000 miles, but really not to see you. I did, on a side note, but I came to see family, friends, and to go to a memorial service in Rye, New Hampshire on Saturday for a good buddy of mine who died. And I'm also going to see Norwich University, where I went to school, on Monday, and I fly back Tuesday morning back to California. But I want to thank you for having me. Yes, my life has been kind of interesting, not as interesting as yours, Mr. Kirby, with the island invasions and everything, but mine's a little bit different than most people. So just to give you an idea, I grew up in Wakefield, went to school in Vermont to Norwich University, went to graduate school, Washington, D.C. at American University, went on active duty in '69, got out in 1971, worked for a hide company selling cattle hides. Then they kill the animals for the meat, the cows and steers. They take the hide off it. And they take I sold the hides to make leather. I am going to be 80 in January, and I'm still buying and selling hides, much to my wife's chagrin. But I love it. I have to have a reason to get up every morning, and this is really what I do. I've done it since 1971. I used to go to the Orient 6-7 times a year, Asia, China, Korea, Philippines, selling hides. Europe, the Prada bags. I sold the little baby calfskins for the Prada bags. Sorry, ladies. I know you know little baby animals, but they make great leather and great purses. So that's what I do. So what happened to me? Just to give you an idea, in 2002, can you all see that presentation up here? Okay, so in 2002, I went blind in my left eye. I had floaters. You know what floaters are? They come and they go. Mine stayed. And so they had to do a vitrectomy. And they take the fluid out and put new fluid in. All that passed. And suddenly I started feeling bad. I thought it was just the eye surgery that started it. I'm going to Mission Hospital, the head hospital in Southern Orange County, going to the head cardiologist, and they can't find out what was wrong with me. Some part of my heart was a little hard, but not enough to make a difference. I was a tennis player. I still am a tennis player and golfer. And I would, play tennis, go to the net, couldn't come back. I was out of breath. I hit a ball off the court, couldn't get back. I was out of breath. It got to the point where I finally went to the doctor and I said, hey, you got to send me someplace. And actually, it was my wife that said that. She says, no more of this crap. She used another word, but anyway, so I went to Mayo Clinic. You all heard of Mayo Clinic? Best hospital in the world, without a doubt. February 27th of 2007, I went to Mayo and they did a whole day of tests. They threw out all the tests I had for 5 years, started their own tests. On Tuesday morning, they ran a bunch of tests, and then they went through my neck down to my heart to get a chunk of my heart to see how my heart was really functioning, and if there's anything attached to my heart. And they found amyloids. Now, amyloids is a bad protein. You have amyloids in the brain for dementia and so forth. This is a bad protein that, come to find out, my liver produced. So the outcome of all 3 days of tests was that I had to get a new heart and a new liver. This is February of 2007. March, April, May goes by. I have a G5 airplane or bigger to take me nonstop to Mayo Clinic if the heart and liver come in. At Orange County Airport, they had a G5. They had G5s, I guess, all over the place. But anyway, I had to have one on standby all the time. So end of August, I moved there. So let's move up a little bit here. So this is my wife, Holly. So these are my two golf buddies. And this guy is the head of Deloitte & Touche, the accounting firm. And he sells lighting, so he doesn't do much. But they're my two golf buddies. So the Deloitte & Touche guy was up in Seattle. He had a house. He has houses everywhere. House in Seattle. He flew down to Vegas. The San Clemente guy drove me to Vegas, and we all played golf. And then my buddy Tim flies back to Orange County. Bob Grant, the CPA guy, drives me to Minnesota in my big black Cadillac. And so we ended up there the end of August of 2007. I moved into an extended stay apartment, which has a little grill, a stove and a refrigerator and everything. And I worked. I had a headset, computer. I sold hides, buying and selling all over the country and all over the world. Still continue to do that. In October, every month, every weekend, somebody of my family came out to visit me. So it was my wife. I have 5 kids. They all came. Everybody took a turn, and so I had somebody there every weekend. End of October, I'm playing a little golf, and I drive up to my ball after the second hole, and I can't get out of the cart. I can't even get up to get the ball. Drive back to my car, get my bag in the trunk, left the golf cart there, got in my car, fell asleep. I woke up and it's dark. Next morning, I go to Mayo, to the clinic again. I said, hey, listen, I'm really bad. And the girl, so we go to the next one. So these two gals here, this was my coordinator, and she's the nurse practitioner, which is next to a doctor. So they look at me and they say, okay, you're going to have to walk down the aisle and back, see how many times you can do it in 10 minutes. I walked to where the food is now, and I stopped, and it leaned against the wall. I couldn't go any further. And I'm crying, and my nurse practitioner comes out, and she's crying. And Jody is my coordinator. She's crying. They put me in a room, and they said, we're going to put you in the hospital. I said, okay. Well, so what does that mean? Well, we're going to put a pacemaker in, a defibrillator, and we're going to put medicine in the catheters right into your heart to keep you alive. So sure enough, the next Monday, they put in a pacemaker, the $50,000 pacemaker thing. And I had Melvin go right in my arm, right cathetered into my heart, pumping 24/7. I carried a bag around and changed it every day. Meanwhile, I'm on the list, of course, to get a heart and liver transplant. Nothing's happening. Do you know the Sturgis motorcycle rally? You all heard of that? Okay. that's a great time for transplant people. I'm sorry, it's gross. But I mean, they said, "Oh, Dick, it's coming. The Sturgis is 2 weeks, and those guys are crazy, and they don't wear helmets. It's in South Dakota." So that passed, and I really got depressed. So I checked with the doctor. He says, "Oh, how's your pacemaker doing?" I says, "Sore." He says, "Well, that's natural." He says, "You're in stage 4. Do you know that?" And I says, "No." And he says, "Nobody's told me anything like that." He says, "Well," he said, "you're not going to make it to Christmas. So you got to get everything in order." So what do you do then? Who's going to get my Corvette? Who's going to get my golf clubs? I got 2 boys and 3 sons-in-laws. So I had to make all those big decisions. But it was a crazy time. And then what do we have next? Okay. So Grant's the bus driver. I'd stay the extended stay, and every day I would go into to Mayo to the clinic, and I work out. One day I get in the bus, and he saved the first row for me. I climbed up into the bus, and I would sit in the first seat. And he said, "Dick, do you know these people behind you?" And I said, "No." And I looked over and I said, the guy's head down is gray, and the wife says, "My husband's waiting for a liver transplant." And I go, "Really?" I said, "Well, I'm waiting for a heart and liver transplant." And she said, "Well, I just want you to know that we don't qualify for a regular liver transplant. My husband's been sick, so he doesn't qualify for a regular liver transplant. He's waiting for an amyloid liver. So keep that in mind." I get off the bus. A few minutes later, I said, "Good luck to you, because maybe you can get mine, and I'll get a new one." So I'll talk about that later. So anyway, so Grant drives me back. November the 3rd, I was at Mayo, and I'm coming back, and Grant's driving me. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, and I got a phone call. I look at my phone. It says 507 area code, which is Rochester, Minnesota. I go, "Oh, they want more tests or something." And I picked up the phone, and they said, "We think we have a heart and liver for you. How soon can you get here?" And I said, "Well, I'm on my way home, to my extended stay. I'll get my car and I'll drive right in." So in the meantime, and Grant cheering, all the people in the van are cheering. And so I went home and got my stuff together. I got a backpack. I put 2 pair of underwear, toothbrush. When are you going to get a transplant? What do you put in? Somebody had given me holy water from Lourdes, the little plastic thing of Mary with the holy water. I put that in there. 3 or 4 books. I figured, I'll be in the hospital, I'll read. Well, I got all this stuff in, and I head to the hospital. Meantime, I talked to my wife and all the kids. The kids are all coming from New York. I have 5 kids, remember? 5, New York, Seattle, and all of it, Southern California. They're all coming to Rochester, Minnesota. My wife is working for the Orange County Health Department, and so she was out on a field exercise or something, and she goes right to Orange County Airport, and they put her on the first flight. So she's on the ramp going down to get on the plane, the first flight to Minneapolis, then change planes Minneapolis to Rochester, which is 70 miles south. The phone rings, she picks it up and says, "Well, Dad, they're supposed to transplant him this afternoon. I'm trying to get there. And you all get there as soon as you can too." "Okay, great." She puts the phone down. The guy behind her taps her on the shoulder, says, "Who heard you say something about a transplant?" And she says, "Yeah, my husband's getting a transplant at Mayo Clinic, supposedly today. And I'm heading out there to try to get there before he has goes in under surgery." And she looks at him, and he's got a uniform on. He's the pilot. And that's, can you go to the next one back, please? That's Pilot Pat. So Pilot Pat says to Holly, he says, "I live in the falls just halfway between, Minneapolis and Rochester. I'll drive you." So plane lands at Minneapolis, and stewardess gets on and says, "Everybody remain seated so that Mrs. Veale can leave." So she got up, the pilot left, and they were the first two off the airplane, right to the car. So I'm sitting there in a hospital room with 4 IVs in me, 2 in each arm, trying to get keratin in me because I'm on blood thinners. You can't get surgery if you're on blood thinners; you just bleed to death. So I got this going on. They've already shaved the 2 hairs off my chest, and I'm sitting there, and in comes my wife. I said, "Oh my gosh, it's like 5 o'clock at night." So I said, "Oh my gosh, who's this guy with you?" I says, "I'm not even gone yet. You got a boyfriend already? What the hell's that all about?" Well, this is Pilot Pat. And so he introduced himself, and he says, "I'm a deacon in the Catholic Church." He says, would you like communion? And I said, "Oh, you bet." And I said, "I used to be Catholic, but of course I'm Presbyterian now, but once a Catholic, always a Catholic." So anyway, so he gives me communion, we pray, and I said, "Oh, I got this holy water, my backpack." And so I take out the holy water, he opens it up, and he washes my head with the holy water, washes my hands, my feet, and they come and get me, and they take me away. 2 days later, I wake up, they put me in a coma, and I'm cut from here to here, here to here, with shiny silver staples. They don't sew you up, they staple you. Can you imagine? And I've got 12 tubes coming out of me, and I have a new heart and liver. And I was in such pain. It was phenomenal. I'm on morphine and everything. I'm pumping the morphine thing. It's not working. So anyway, okay, let's go to the next one. So this is my family at Mayo. You see all the white sweatshirts? Those are Mayo, say Mayo Clinic on them. I paid for all those sweatshirts. They took over a hotel, the Marriott Hotel there downstairs, and the bar bill was astronomical. I'm still paying for it, sort of. Anyway, that's my family, and that's me recovering. Waiting to win. Excuse me, with one of the grandkids that got there ahead of time. So, to kind of move forward, I recovered. A week later, I'm out of the hospital. I'm in an apartment, kind of attached to Mayo because you can get underground and overground. It's now November. It's cold, snow, miserable. Anyway, so I woke up with one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to thank the family of the person who died. Somebody had to die to give me the heart and liver. And I kept asking who it is that they can't tell you. And so I wrote a letter, and they mailed the letter. It goes through an intermediary and goes to the family. And I wrote another letter in December, a Christmas card. And I wrote another letter in April or May, and nothing happened. And the next thing I know, I'm there at Mayo for my first annual tests, and I get a letter. They hand me a letter, and it's from the family. And it said, our son died. He loved horses. He was an outdoor guy, loved being outdoors. And so my youngest son, Danny, was a derivative straight of UBS. He had the 4 screens in Stamford, Connecticut with I said, anybody who can find out who this kid is, let me know. It's worth a dinner for 2. So 5 minutes later, Danny's calling saying this guy's name is Pavel, and he died in a construction accident. So a year later, I conversed back and forth with them. They let me contact them, and today I'm still friends with Doug and Carol Pavel, the mom and dad, and the sister Katie. And I got his heart and liver. He fell off the roof, was brain dead. I got his heart and liver. 44 people got stuff from him. I mean, talking about bones, ACLs, eyes, kidneys, skin, tissue, everything. It's amazing. And so, I don't know, do I have any more pictures? What do I have? So that's the kid. He was a cowboy, and he died in a construction accident, but he was a cowboy. And that's the mom, and that's me and Holly visiting them on their farm in outside of Rapid City, South Dakota. Is there anything else? What else we got? Okay, that's their farm, and that's me hugging Carol, the mom, and she's saying to me, "How could God take my son? I'm really mad at God. How could He take my son?" And I says, "Carol, I have no answer for that. All I can tell you is that I'm alive today because your son died, and God has a plan for your life. I'm not sure what that is. It wasn't for your son. If it wasn't for your son, me and 40-something other people would never be living like as well as we are now." So, okay, so I took everybody to Hawaii next year, and you see how big it is. There's a big group now. Well, there's 13 grandkids and 5 adults, 5 married. So there's a ton. Every time we go any place, they come for dinner. It's 20-something people for dinner. We go through more red wine you can't imagine. And they're all kids are growing up, but it's been a great life. So my point to you is this: there's a pink dot on your license. If you don't have it, please get it. And you say, "Oh, Jay says, well, I'm 80-something years old. What good am I?" Your eyes still work. You still have tissues. You have an ACL. You have a lot of bones. They do bone grafts. So because of this kid had signed up when he got his license, got the pink dot on it. If he hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to tell you that God is alive and well, has a plan for your life as He has for me. I'm doing great. I feel great. I lost vision in my left eye. I'm one-eyed. So when I drive out of here, the garage, don't be anywhere near me. My wife doesn't even like to drive with me anymore, but I drove up from Connecticut yesterday, so I'm still doing pretty good. But I have trouble playing tennis and I have trouble playing golf, but I still play golf. Anyway, number 1, be sure to get the pink dot in your license. Number 2, believe in God. If you don't believe in God, I'm sorry for you, but if you do believe in God, you really believe in God, if you've known what I've gone through. So I want to thank you for the opportunity, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Yeah.
Dick, how many years has it been now that you've got the heart and liver, and what's the normal life expectancy for people?
So it'll be 16 years November 3rd. I celebrate a birthday every November 3rd. When Holly and I were there at Mayo waiting to get a transplant, they had a transplant class, and if you get a transplant, you have to do this and that. We had to wash everything that came into that thing. We had to wear masks. This is before masks were popular. We had to wear a mask all the time. We had to wash everything, cans, anything, and we're really, really careful. So somebody asked a question, well, how long will we last if we get a lung transplant? And somebody said, 2 or 3 years. Lungs don't last very long. Well, how about a heart? Somebody said, how about a heart? And the gal says, up to 10 years. So my 11th year back at Mayo, because I go back every year for tests, I asked the doctor, I said, well, what's the deal? How long do I have? And because it's been 11 years now. And he said, well, Dick, we're finding out that the average heart transplant person is 50% are gone within the first 10 years, somewhere in between the first 10 years. In your case, you got a heart and liver. And because you got 2 organ transplants, we're doing a study for the New England Journal of Medicine that says double transplant people are living longer because the body is so overwhelmed because it doesn't want to reject it. There's too much to reject. So, when you get a splinter, eventually it'll come out. If you put an organ in your system, it wants to reject it. So I take a lot of meds morning and evening. I will all my life. But hey, I'm grateful for being here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So I read here about the rejection. You got a liver, you got heart.
Yeah.
And the medicine, the medicine is preventing your body from rejecting.
I take anti-rejection medicine. Yeah.
That does that.
Yep.
Now, I I got my own heart, but I'm concerned with my cholesterol, and if I get a pain in my chest, you would get any pains in that? You get cholesterol issues?
So that's an interesting thing. When they take your heart out, you've heard of the vagus nerve? The vagus nerve goes from your heart up to your brain. So, for instance, you getting out of that chair, you're thinking about getting out of the chair, your brain's telling your heart, get ready, and it starts pumping. Mine doesn't work like that. So if I get out of a chair and start running, I'm out of breath. So I was supposed to die 16 years ago, Mark. I could care less what pain I get. Seriously. Every day is a gift. Really. So, yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you for having me. Yeah.